Imagine a world where new mothers are encouraged to rest, not rush, where healing takes priority over hustle. Welcome to the 555 rule, the postpartum philosophy that's shaking up everything we thought we knew about life after birth. In the last episode, I introduced you to the fourth trimester, the first 3 months after birth. This is the second video in this series, and today I want to focus on the first 15 days of this journey and a method that's gaining traction among new mums and healthcare providers alike. So what exactly is the 555 rule postpartum? Simply put, it's a guideline for postpartum recovery that breaks down your first 15 days after birth into 3 distinct phases. 5 days in bed, 5 days on the bed, 5 days near the bed. Now, I know what you're thinking. 15 days in or around my bed, is that even possible? Especially with a new baby? Well, stick with me because I'll tell you why this approach is causing such a stir in the world of postpartum care. The 555 rule isn't just about lounging around. It's a deliberate, structured approach to recovery that prioritizes rest, bonding with your baby, and giving your body the time it needs to heal. It's a stark contrast to the bounce-back culture that often puts pressure on new mums to return to normal activities as quickly as possible and drop the pregnancy pounds. Have a look at my video here where I talk more about safe postpartum weight loss. This rest and recovery concept isn't entirely new. In fact, it draws inspiration from traditional postpartum practices in various cultures around the world. For example, in China, new mums are expected to stay at home and rest for a full 30 to 40 days after the birth, while female relatives do all the household tasks. This is called sitting in the month, and to be honest, I think I would struggle to stick to it strictly, but the principle is good. This kind of idea is gaining renewed attention as society begins to better understand the physical and emotional needs of new mothers in those early days and weeks after birth. I think the main thing to remember is that the 555 rule isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, but rather a framework that you can adapt to your individual needs and circumstances. So don't worry about trying to stick to anything too strictly. Your baby may not let you. Let's break down each phase of the 555 rule, starting with phase 1 and those first 5 days in bed. This initial phase might sound like a dream or a nightmare, depending on your perspective, but the rationale is that your body has just been through an incredible feat. Whether you had a vaginal delivery or C-section, your body needs time to recover. During these first 5 days, your primary focus should be on rest and bonding with your baby. This means staying in bed as much as possible, limiting your movements to essential activities like using the bathroom or taking a quick shower, focusing on skin-to-skin contact with your newborn, establishing breastfeeding, if that's your chosen feeding method. Dr. Deborah Brunt, a women's health specialist, explains that these first few days are crucial for physical healing and establishing breastfeeding. The 555 rule gives mothers permission to prioritize these essential tasks. Phase 2 is 5 days on the bed. And as you move into this second phase, you'll start to incorporate a little bit more movement, but still with the focus on rest. During these days, you can sit up in bed more often, move to a comfortable chair or couch for short periods, start doing very light activities like folding laundry while sitting down, and continue focusing on bonding with your baby and establishing feeding. Phase 3 is 5 days near the bed. In the final phase, you'll gradually increase your activity level, but still prioritize rest. This might include taking short, slow walks around your home, spending more time in upright positions, possibly trying out a baby carrier for short periods if you feel up to it and your baby meets the weight requirements, and continuing to rest frequently, listening to your body signals. So what are the real benefits of the 555 rule? Well, there are plenty. Like I said before, the 555 rule isn't about lazing in bed. It's about giving your body and mind the time they need to recover and adjust. Physically, this approach allows your body to heal at its own pace. If you had tearing during delivery or had a C-section, that extra rest can make the world of difference to your recovery. It might also help reduce the risk of complications like excessive bleeding, known as postpartum hemorrhage, something no new mom wants to deal with. Suzanne Jager, a Dutch birth educator who applied the 5-5 rule herself, notes that after using this approach with her second child, she noticed a significant improvement in her energy levels and overall recovery compared to her first postpartum experience. She recommends this to a lot of her clients now. For those choosing to breastfeed, these restful days can be a game changer. Without the pressure to jump back into daily life, you can focus on establishing a good breastfeeding routine with your little one. Trust me, your future self will thank you for this dedicated time. Although breastfeeding is one of the most natural things a mother can do, it can take a bit of practice for both you and your baby. I've covered lots of aspects of breastfeeding on my channel, but you might like to check out this video to get you off to a great start. You can also head to my website, bumbumtobubble.com, where I've got over 150 blog posts about breastfeeding, motherhood, and everything in between. But the benefits of the 555 rule aren't just physical. It can be a real boost for your emotional and mental health too. These early days are precious for bonding with your baby, and this approach gives you the space just to do that without feeling rushed or pressured. Also, OBGYN Dr. Sanchez notes that it's also thought to potentially reduce the risk of postpartum depression and anxiety. By slowing down and focusing on recovery, you're giving yourself the chance to gradually adjust to your new role as a mother without the added stress of outside expectations. So now we know that the 555 rule sounds great in theory, but how does it work in practice? It takes a fair amount of prep. If you're still pregnant, now's the time to start planning. Set up a cozy recovery space in your bedroom. Think comfortable pillows, easy access to water and snacks, and maybe even a basket of essentials like nipple cream, maternity pads, and burp cloths. The goal is to create a nurturing nest where you and your baby can spend those first crucial days. In fact, if you would like to learn a little bit more about how to bond with your baby, have a look in the description for my free ebook called Baby Steps, which is full of activities you can do together starting from pregnancy up to age 3. The 555 rule isn't a solo mission. You'll need help and lots of it. Have a frank conversation with your partner, family, and friends about what this approach entails. Delegate responsibilities like household chores, meal prep, and caring for older children if you have them. But what if you don't have a large support network? Consider hiring a postpartum doula, even if it's just for a few hours a day. Look into meal delivery services or ask friends to organise a meal train. Basically, try to minimise your responsibilities outside of self-care and baby care. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds impossible. I've got other kids, a dog, bills to pay. And you're right. The 555 rule can be challenging to implement fully for many women, but it's not an all or nothing approach. If you can't commit to the full 15 days, even adopting parts of this philosophy can be beneficial. Maybe you focus on the first 5 days of complete rest, then gradually increase activity as you feel able. Or perhaps you designate certain hours of the day as 555 time, where you retreat to your recovery space. One common concern amongst mums who've tried this approach is boredom. After all, 15 days is a long time to spend in or around your bed, so stock up on books, download some podcasts, or line up a few TV shows you've been meaning to watch. But also, don't underestimate the power of simply being present with your baby. Those newborn days fly by, and this is a rare opportunity to soak them in without distraction. Oh, and you will be tired, so use this opportunity to catch up on some well-deserved sleep. As we wrap up this episode, remember the essence of the 555 rule isn't about strictly adhering to a set number of days in bed. It's about giving yourself permission to prioritise recovery and bonding with your baby over rushing back to normal life. Because let's face it, after having a baby, your normal life has changed forever. In the next episode, I'll be discussing another crucial aspect of the 4th trimester, physical changes and recovery for new mums, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss it.